Hello and welcome to episode 20 of the Making It podcast. Look at Dan trying not to laugh. Every time we start an episode, it's always looking like he's trying not to laugh. Nothing funny about being 20 episodes in because that is 20 weeks.
I know, I was thinking that, bro. 20 in now.
Which is, we are now approaching the midway point of the year when you think about it. We've still got like another 7 weeks, but like we've got a while. We're nearly at the midpoint of the year already, which is kind of crazy. But we are here, episode 20. And you're not going to want to miss this because it has been a mental week on both sides. Rats in kitchens, late trains, just everything. It's either gone wrong or horrendously wrong. But we're here talking about it. So Dan, welcome to the podcast and tell me about your week.
You know what? I'll jump straight in. To be honest, even within the last half an hour, bro, I've been shook. I've been shook by this rat. So I'm chilling in my kitchen on Friday. I'm watching, can't quite remember what I was watching, but that's irrelevant. And this little rat comes walking into the living room. And honestly, I didn't realise how scared I get from rats, bro, but I squealed. I'll be honest, man. I went and ran. No, Scarlett wasn't there. I went and got my housemate Adam and his girlfriend Abby, and we searched the whole house. We couldn't find it. So I thought, okay, hopefully it's not here. Maybe it's gone out the door. And then I'm chilling again, and I find it near the bins. Goes running, and I find where it goes this time. So we go, okay, we'll block off where it's coming from. We'll go get some rat poison. So we put it down. We come back in from getting rat poison. Abby squeals so loud, and we all run out of the living room. We see it again. Okay, so overnight, I wake up at 2 a.m. that Friday night. I was like, I've got to go check on this rat. The poison cubes are out and everything. And I could hear it jittering about, but I couldn't see it. So I went back to bed, but I was shook. I was so shook. And then the next day in the morning, a lot of the cubes had gone. So we thought, you know what? The rat's dead. Good news. Later on in the evening, I am with my girlfriend this time, and I can hear it. I said, Scarlett, I can hear it. It wasn't dead. And then Scarlett accidentally caught it in the recycling bin. And then we chucked it like really far down the road, got rid of it. But bro, like that rat shook me up, man.
You chucked it?
As in, like, we had it in the bin because it had gone into the recycling bin. So we unintentionally caught it. Like, we didn't do that on purpose. It just was in there. And then we took it, like, we carried it all the way down the street and got rid of it and just, like, let it free.
Oh, so you didn't kill it?
Oh, crikey, no. I'm not killing a rat, man. I can't do that.
Oh, do you know what? Fair enough. I think Dan has come up with the most humane solution for getting rid of rats. Wait until it goes into your recycling bin and let your girlfriend take it away for you.
I took it away.
You know, I'm going to have to double check that one. I'm going to have to verify these sources.
Mate, but tell us about your day yesterday, man. Tell us about your day yesterday.
Oh, it's a wild day. So I haven't been feeling too good this week, I'm going to be honest. Just getting really kind of like overwhelmed with a lot of stuff. I think, you know, being busy after the operation and stuff, like this is super busy. Like, you know, these last 2 weeks have been mad. From Tuesday to Saturday, I honestly don't really remember doing much. Do you know? I just remember being in like automatic sort of mode. So
just been a blur, yeah.
Just being a blur because I'd finish gardening in the morning and I'd go to work at night, and then I'm doing stuff on my laptop. You know, data analysis for the Making It podcast. We'll come on to a bit later on. But like, there was no time for me. You know, and I think that today, it's Sunday at the time of recording. After I finish the podcast, you know, we're going to do a little bit and then I'm just going to chill out. I've just decided there's a couple of bits I will want to do on my laptop. So I'm going to write something about the forest resort and whatever else. But I want to just chill, watch a film, maybe go and see my family for a bit, you know, just relax. But yesterday was mental because I got asked to go and do a commentary. And then I spoke to him and he said, okay, you need to be there at 9 a.m. Now this is Solihull. So I'm in Beeston. So Solihull isn't really that close when you get in there on train. If you go in the car, like if you drive, it's one of the times where I wish I drove. But it was in Solihull. So I left the house at 6:30, near about 6:20. Got to Birmingham Airport and then got the taxi in. So I was actually there at 8:30 at the Firs where we do it. And then did the whole thing and we got to the meeting in the morning at like 9:30. And I said to the guy, no, not 9:30, about 9:15, sorry. Said to the guy, you know, like, after the meeting. I don't think I'm to interrupt, but we've got something to tell you. It's Jamie here.
And Daniel here.
And we are from the Making It podcast, because you're listening to that right now. Please give us a follow on Spotify and click the notification button, because we want you to keep listening and we hope that you're enjoying our content.
And follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter and Facebook, all at Making It Poddy.
And drop us an email, makingitpoddy@gmail.com. Enjoy the episode and we'll see you soon.
Enjoy.
Doing the commentary that you've mentioned, like I think, because he's telling me about a mental health cup, which is great, but I said, I don't think I'm doing that. I think I'm doing something else. And he's like, oh yeah, you're right. You weren't meant to be here till 11. So I'm like, oh, fuck, man. Sorry, that could have been an extra couple of hours in bed. I was like, oh, I'm wounded. But I was like, all right, it is what it is. And then for the next 7 hours, starting at 11:15 to whatever time, 7.5 hours, it's commentary.
So what were you commentating on?
I was commentating on youth football. So the best kids from various districts, girls and boys around the country, commentating on them.
And I listened to this, by the way, and I've looked, and there was actually 10,000 viewers overall so far,
Is it 10,000, is it?
You've been checking the numbers, but 10,000 people listen to this kid commentate, and honestly, very professional.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. It's weird because I don't ever get to see the numbers. Whenever I commentate, something that has been nice that other people don't have the privilege of, actually, is the fact that they don't know how many people are listening.
You ever think about how many people are listening?
No. Honestly, and that sounds crazy because with everything else I do, yes, we've spoken about it. We like to take a look at how many people are listening to our stuff. And I will think when I'm talking, how many people are going to listen to this? I want to know, because I'd like it to be as many people as possible, But with that, I don't think about it, because that's always the way my brain's been wired. Like, don't think about who's listening. The only person you think about is that one person. Who that is, you don't know, but it's just about one. That's who you're addressing it to, which we found out on the radio show day when you came with me. It's about that one person. But anyway, we did the commentary. It was like 7.5, 8 hours of commentating. Finished the day. There was only a 15-minute turnaround between each game, so we had to be on it. The director, Simon, was brilliant, so credit to him. He was great. And I got to pick the man of the match for every game, which was quite crazy, because I'd just feel someone tap on my shoulder and be like, right, pick the man of the match.
You better pick that O'Brien on that Liverpool.
That O'Brien. Yeah, that O'Brien. He was a baller. A goal and 2 assists, mate. The best thing about it was the fact that I can just recall pretty much every goal. And it was actually a really good football, and I enjoy it. The time went by so quick, so I know that is what I love. So I finished the day, and I thought, right, lovely day outside, nice and sunny. We'll get the taxi back to the airport, and we'll get the train home. Get there, and they're like, you can't get on the train yet. Your ticket's not till 20 to 9 or whatever. And I'm like, it's an off-peak ticket. It's the same price if you go on the app. So I was like, well, can I refund this one and go and get a different one? No, you can't do that. So I was like, just let me on. Just let me through the barriers. I need to get home. I live in Beeston, whatever. I need to go home. You can't do it. You're going to have to sit here. So I went and sat in Subway, paid 11 quid for a Subway, right? And eventually got on my train. Train's delayed. I missed the connection back to Nottingham. I'm sat in Birmingham Airport Birmingham New Street train station till 25 past 10. Get home about 11:45. And it's just like,
it's funny. Those moments are, those kind of moments are, they're frustrating, because originally you plan the day, right, and you plan it, and you go and you want that plan to work, and when that plan doesn't work, it gets frustrating. But it's been funny how situations like that have happened to you this week. It's happened to me this week. What do I do now moments? If you haven't gone and listened to episode 19, the last podcast episode, go and listen to it, because it's such a big thing. In those frustrating moments where we don't know what next, or something happens which it doesn't go according to plan, what do you do now? But I'm thinking about your commentary, bro, and I'm thinking, how many hours did you say you did?
It must have been around 7.5.
I think I saw it was just under 8. And when you think about it, right, let's take yourself back a few years when you were, you're in that suit and you went to that county game and it was your first time commentating, yeah? You got to do things like that, because you've now, this weekend, done 7 to 8 hours of commentary. Look how far you've gone. And you've got to think about those sort of experiences. And I think, okay, if you were to tell a young Jamie, how is he going to get to the level he's at now? Honestly, it's just putting yourself in those situations and gaining that experience. I had a football presentation out on Tuesday, and there was some public speaking involved. I presented the awards to my players. It was a really nice night. They gave me a few beers as a gift as well. But the main point I'm trying to make is the public speaking, because I got up in front of all the football lads, in front of all the coaches, and I spoke. Now, the week before I did that at my intramural 7-a-side presentation night as well. So that almost warmed me up for that. But I think if I was to give some advice to someone who's like trying to make it in something or starting out in something, just like we are really still, but we're at a bit more of a later stage, someone who's at that fresh start, it's just getting yourself in the situations. I think showing up and putting yourself in the situations, that's where most of the growth happens, just by doing it. And I've had conversations with people, especially, I'll repeat it again, the head of football at the uni here. He always says to me, you learn by doing. And I think it's those experiences, bro. And I want you to look back in hindsight and think, you know what, you've come a long way. But for anyone starting out, anything like public speaking, anything you're nervous about, you want to grow in, it's just doing it. And it's taking that jump, and over time it gets even better.
100%. You know, the warm-up that you mentioned is special, because a warm-up in any scenario is massive. In football, you've got to warm up to play. You know, in your public speaking, you've got to warm up. You've got to talk to yourself sometimes. You know, like before a commentary, I'll be thinking of things and I'll be mentally warming up. You've got to read the notes you've made. You've got to read the program you've been given. You know, you've got to read all the information about all these hundreds of like random people that you don't know about, that you've got to remember their names. You know, in your situation, you've got to remember the reason why you're talking. You know, why are you standing up in front of all those people? You know, and I think the thing that made yesterday particularly special was the fact that I didn't want to do it on Friday. I didn't want to do it on Thursday. I didn't want to do it on Wednesday, because on Wednesday night, I was quite worried about being away from home for a long time. And I worked myself up so bad that I ended up having like a sort of a mini panic attack, you know, in bed. And it was shit, to be completely honest with you. Like it was rubbish. It must have been about 12 at night, you know, and I just started feeling a bit uneasy. I felt a bit like everything's a bit much. And then kind of as the next hour went on, next hour and a half, I just felt even worse. So I was like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? You know, like the podcast last week is just been this week personified, you know, and I kind of sat back, listened to music, and I thought to myself, I cannot do this week. I can't do it. This is too much for me. Like this whole scenario of like work and everything. And I said to myself, I've got to be up for work in like 5 hours to go and do gardening, you know, and the lack of sleep didn't help. That's probably the biggest problem. But I'm working on that now. But I didn't want to do Saturday. I didn't want to do yesterday. But the thing I liked about this week, despite how challenging and also that in general just made it really, really bad, was the fact that I kind of accepted what was going on around me and what my situation is. And I acknowledged the things that I'm worried about and said, and that's fine.
How did you acknowledge them?
Well, you have to. I think I have to. You know, I have to.
No, how?
By probably just sitting and thinking. Turning the phone off was a big one. You know, when I was sat in bed and I felt sick. You know, I felt like my head was spinning. I was sweating. I felt really bad. I just put my phone down and I put music on. And I sat and thought about my situation. And the thinking maybe didn't help me necessarily to start with. I think the thinking made me think even more, overthink more. But kind of as time went on, you know, and as I fell to sleep and woke up in the morning and thought about it again, I thought, right, you know, that was the best thing for me, you know. But like, you know, the acknowledging the situation of going away, I'm almost talking about it because it brings me reassurance now. Me talking about it open and out. You'll know this, like, because I know you're the same. When you worry about something, you'll bring it up to me a couple of times.
You've seen me with Jim and that belt.
I've seen you. You know, when you cut that belt that you didn't know was.
You've got to, man. You've got to talk, bro. And I think you saying you acknowledge how you were feeling, I think that's the greatest thing. And it relates to that podcast we did in your NHR studio. You know, when you talk about dark thoughts, you put some music on, let it pass. You know, moments come and go. It's a massive one. You know, everything we've spoken about today, moments come and go. And I think it's it's a really important perspective to have. I saw Mohamed Salah talk about it. He said emotions come and go, situations come and go. He's one of the best players in the Premier League right now, one of the best ever. And you've got to understand that in life, it's like as we talk about all the time, man. It's almost like there's been themes throughout all the episodes we've had that link to a couple things. And I think waves has been a massive one. If you think about everything that's happened in the past 20 weeks with this podcast, think about all the different things that have happened, man. It's the 11th of May when we're recording right now. It's been 5 months of this year. There's been so many things that have happened, ups and downs, waves where sometimes you'll be surfing the wave, you'll be feeling amazing. Other waves, you have to go right under it, take the hit, and then get back up. Now, that's just life, man. And I think I'm feeling it, bro. I'm feeling it 20 episodes in. I'm just reflecting on, like, it's amazing, bro. If you look at our first episode, and I'll tell any listener right now to go look at it and how far we've come, bro. And it's only going to go further. And that's to anyone listening right now. Whatever you're doing, whatever position you're in right now, you can take that as far as you want. You know, you can do whatever you want with it, but just make sure it aligns to who you want to be. But the main point I'm making is things will be up and down. But something I always like to think about, and I'm really interested to know what you think about this, brother, is a continuum. I think a lot of life is on a continuum. Let's say a bit of a balance scale, yeah? Let's say my right hand is, let's say a simple one, feeling sad. My left hand is feeling happy. You know, for the listeners just listening, I've got my hands up right now. You can kind of get the idea. Let's say sometimes you're in this really dark moment where you're feeling sad. You're on the right proper end of the feeling sad. And then that feeling comes and goes. And then it starts to increase a little bit on the continuum. And then you're really happy. And then you're really happy and it kind of decreases a little bit. It's almost like we're always on a continuum. And I think those waves are the continuum. And I think it's just a really important perspective to have in life, man, that things come and go and you'll get through them. It's just some will be harder than others. But I think having that perspective is I think it's a good thing to have.
Yeah, and and also like the constants. You know, there's a book that we've both read. I don't know if you have actually. Oh no, which one is it? There's a psychology book. It might be do you know what it is? It's The Psychology of Money, right? That we
Yeah.
You know, that I'm still in the midst of finishing, which is something I'll probably do tonight.
That's from ages ago, bro.
It's from ages ago. I just stopped reading it. But the one thing they said about stocks and investing in that was, we're not going to focus on what does change. We're going to focus on what doesn't change. And that's something that they mentioned throughout the book. What doesn't change? And that was talking about consumer habits. So like people eating the same amount of Snickers or Mars bars as they did in the 80s, you know, stuff like that. But in our life, although it is important to be ready to adapt to things that do change, it is so important to focus on things that don't change. So, you know, in that moment when I was feeling crap and I didn't think that I could do Saturday, I remembered the constant desire to get to where I want to be. I remembered that I love, and I constantly love, and I can't change my love for what I do in terms of commentary. Paid, whether it's free, whether it's whatever, I love it. Do you know what I mean? That when I'm on the train and I get my, you know, my smart clothes on and I put those headphones on, you know, and you step into that character, you know, which is still me, but it's that kind of, that is the constant in my life. So you should focus on constants, you know, things that don't change, because again, everything's always changing all the time, and you know, in your life, and usually it's from external influences. But those things that don't, your passion for something, your love for something, you know, your just how you feel about something, put energy into that. Do you know what I mean? Put energy into that, because that's important. That's so important.
Bro, I love that, and I really like that idea of constants, and I think that completely aligns with your identity and who you want to be. That's constant. And
Yeah.
I was thinking about something this week. I was thinking about decisions, and I was thinking, when you think about it, you know, in a making it journey, in any journey in life, what guides you in a certain direction? It's the decisions you make. Every day you make decisions. That's what takes us on our path, on whatever path we're going down. But how do you make the best decisions for yourself? And I think it draws back to what we speak about pretty much every week. Who do you want to be? When you know who that is and what your identity is, making those decisions will guide you onto the right path. But then it's like, okay, why do we make bad decisions? You know, it's questioning, okay, why do we make those bad decisions? But in terms of choices and decisions, bro, I think it's looking at the constants, and that constant is who you want to be. I really like that perspective, man.
That's just how I view it. You shouldn't be one-dimensional with your view on life. You know, you should be open to many things, and that's where the bad decision making comes from, I think, because I've made so many bad decisions in my life. Like yesterday, in fact, the day I booked that train, I should have made the better decision to pay a few more pounds to go and get an open return, but I thought I don't need it. But the reason that you make bad decisions is because of a lack of experience, believing sometimes that you know best, and number 3, that you are destined to learn a lesson that you need to learn. So that's fine. If you make a bad decision, don't beat yourself up over it, because it happens. And these are things that won't change in your life. You making bad decisions. If you go through your life worrying about making a bad decision or something like that, well, then you are making a bad decision inherently by doing that. You can't worry about these things. You just have to do what is right for you. Make sure that you're being sensible. Don't try and harm anyone else. If you know you're stepping into a bad decision, you're not going to take it, are you? But if you're constantly aware and trying to think of what is a bad decision and what's not, and worrying about it, you just won't do anything. You'll be stagnant. So, yeah, constants and continuums. What does that
I like
sound like?
that, man. I like that, man. That sounds like the episode title.
Name. That sounds like an episode name. We'll clip that one. But other than the fact that it's been a really challenging week, we're here. I'd like to say we're both very healthy. Dan, I've got a question. That is a constant indeed. Are you at liberty to tell me what you'll be wearing to my Australian-themed leavers party for work next week? Now you've got the pressure on you?
No.
He's still not telling me. Can you believe
that?
This?
Will be a surprise. And for those listening, we are doing Jamie's leaving do next Saturday, 17th of May. You know what? Let's make a making it vlog on it, brother.
Let's make a making it vlog. Okay,
and that's when you can see the outfit, because I've got a couple of surprises for Jay that night, and that sounds a bit, I don't know. It sounds a bit wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure that you.
Not in that way. Not in that way. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not even gonna dig myself a hole there, bro.
I think you've dug one big enough, mate.
I almost said what outfit it was, but the outfit is one of the surprises. So, I'm just gonna stop talking.
So basically, if you want to see me dressed as Steve Irwin and whatever Dan wants to come dressed as next week, we're doing it on Saturday. When the vlog will be out, I don't know. How deep into the night is this vlog going to be, Dan? Is it going to be the moment we get a kebab at the end? Because
yeah,
I think if you're going to do it, you might as well.
Yeah, and that, you know what, for the listeners, I also need to create that vlog for when you're up in Newcastle. That will come out soon, don't worry.
We'll just make out like I've gone back up.
Yeah.
We'll make
it. Jamie, I saw a question this week. Not a question, but I questioned something I saw. Someone was speaking about, specifically he was a rapper, and he was talking about the industry, and obviously a music industry is a bit different. It's a bit more toxic. It's a bit more, it takes a certain someone to make it in the music industry. But he was saying how in life you can't be too humble, because if you're too humble, you don't get what you deserve. You've got to sell yourself. And there's elements of that I agree. There's elements of that I disagree. I think my first question is, can you ever be too humble? Personally, I don't think so. But I don't think being humble means you don't ask for what you want. I think there's certain ways that you ask for things. Let's say you're trying to sell yourself. Oh, I want all that. Give me all that money. Like I deserve all that money. Okay. What about a humble way of doing it? I've worked hard, boss. These are the things I've done. I do it for you guys. I do it for myself. But I feel like I deserve this. I think there's a humble way of asking for more. So I don't know if being too humble is the problem. But can we be too humble sometimes?
I don't know if maybe the basics of what that word means is being sort of like mistaken or misunderstood, perhaps. Because you can be the most humble person, but the basics of what is humble. What is being humble to you, Dan, as just a basic thing?
Being humble is being kind. It's being grounded. It's not thinking I'm above anything or anyone. And it's understanding that most things are more than me. But the impact I can have on things is more than anything.
So could you potentially describe being humble as almost removing ego from influencing your outlook on others, how you talk to others, how you view a project, removing not the whole ego, but removing the part that makes you kind of puff your chest out?
No, because I still feel like you can puff your chest out when you're humble. It's just how you're puffing it out. Are you crushing other people while doing it, or are you bringing other people up with you?
Okay, interesting. So I would say to that point about being too humble, I think that the being too humble is being mistaken or misunderstood to be underselling yourself. Because I think, yeah, you can be the most humble person in the world and you can still sell yourself. You know, um, I think everyone's got a different definition of being humble. I think is the problem. Like I think some people do just think it's basically you not being an arsehole, whereas really it isn't about that, but it sort of is. So it's one of those like is water wet questions. You know, I think you'd be going on about it for millions and millions of years, but the important thing, like we said earlier, you know, in fact in the podcast in the NHR studio, was that you are the CEO of your own brand. So how you determine how you market yourself is up to you. I think, like you think, you should be as humble as you can. It's hard to be sometimes, though. You know, it's really hard to be humble sometimes. You know, when you're in a job interview, you can be humble, but you have to puff your chest out and have a bit of an ego. You know, you have, there is, I don't think that life is all about being humble. I think it's about managing when is the time to be you know, to be super humble and when is the
It's that
time to be,
continuum. It's that continuum again.
yeah. It will always come and go throughout your life that you will need to be humble, but you'll need to sell yourself. And it's then about balancing. So I think you've just got to be good at the balancing act. That's, you know, I mean, that's what life is all about. And this conversation for me is so difficult to have because there's a million different answers you could give, and there's thousands of different answers that I'm thinking of now. You know,
But what answer would you give?
for me, I just think that you can't be too humble. I don't think you can be too humble. You know, I think that the idea of being too humble and whatever else is being said about it. No, I think because again, it's impossible to be too humble because people view humbleness in different ways. So everyone's judgment of you is different.
You know what? I think if we are going to title this constant and continuums, brother, I think we should. I think me and you should both list off three of the most important constants in our lives. Let's both do it right now. Let's go from 3 to 1. It doesn't. To be fair, it doesn't necessarily have to be in order. But let's do it now. Let's do it. Let's list off three constants. You go first.
Well, first of all, relationships, family, friends, these are constants. They will come and go throughout your life. My passion for wanting to achieve what I love. And perhaps another constant is struggling sometimes to balance. Struggling to balance.
That's an interesting one because that's a bit different because that's something which is going to always be a struggle. It's not something which is always going to be there in a good way.
Because if we're talking about this wider thing, because the wider sort of the sort of outside the force field of this conversation, the wider subject is balancing. So for those two things, relationships and my desire and passion to do what I want to do in life is good. You've got that third thing. Now that seems like a 2v1, but the weight of struggling to balance things in life is heavy. That's heavy. So those three for me perfectly balance out. So
I would say my three, I'd say your health. I'd say that's always a constant. If you're neglecting your health, like you can't really do that. Really, that without anything, you can't have anything without health. Second one. What are you circling at, boss?
You had a bit of an Alan Partridge moment there. I'll be honest with you, lad.
Oh, sorry. Why?
You're not good without your health. Sorry.
Second, I would agree. I'll say your relationships. I think they're always constant. However, not all relationships are.
No, that's true.
But I think relationships in general, like family and friends, and those people who will be close to you for a long time, are constant. And then I'd say waves. I'd say waves are constant. They're always constant, but how they come isn't. They're my three.
You don't know if it's going to be a riptide. You don't know if it's going to be a tsunami. You don't know if it's going to be a small little wave that you swallow off the water there. Do you know what I mean? You don't know which wave it's going to be. but you got to be ready to deal with all of them. So build a good old raft. The boat. Build the boat. Have a listen to that episode as well if you haven't already. The boat. It's a good one from a little while back. But yeah, I would say that constants, continuums, balancing, these are all really important things. And obviously it's good that your sort of moral balance was good when you dealt with the rat, because perhaps on another day or a different person probably would have just killed that rat.
Bit morbid, mate.
I'm just saying. Maybe on a different day, someone else would have killed that rat, and you've just saved it. So maybe they'll listen to the Making It podcast and be like, grateful. You know what I mean?
Well, I've actually just found it was actually, we put some rat poison cubes down. And today I was a bit shook and I thought I could hear another rat. So I went looking in the kitchen. And in our kitchen, we have this big bag of carrier bags. And I just moved it. And we had thought the rat originally had eaten 7 poison cubes. But I found 5 with some rat poo in a corner of the kitchen. So I've been building a bit of a thing going on there. So I'm glad we got rid of it.
Yeah, well, at least it's gone. No more rat poo. No rats in my kitchen. Dan, anything else you want to add? Has there been any funny TikTok comments this week? I've not actually had a look.
We have a couple lads who, I don't know if they actually listen to the episodes, but they're always on the videos and they're always commenting on each video about, they've been taking the mick recently about saying about every video we post, it's about having a dark thought about it because we did them dark thought videos.
We are quite deep. We are deep.
I agree. But they've been asking to come on the podcast. I said shoot an email across, but they haven't. So I don't know how serious they are about it. But nothing crazy.
You listening now, if you're going to say stuff on the TikTok that you want to come on the podcast, well, then I challenge you to send in an email. I bet you won't. And
I want to shout out, there's been another Making It Moments, Noah Ween. Go and listen to that. It's a really nice episode. A good friend of mine. So go and listen to that episode. And we've got a few more Making It Moments on the way. Jamie's been doing a bit of data analysis. So we've had a new thumbnail. We're trying to work out things, but any feedback would be grateful. And go to all our socials, Instagram, TikTok. Jamie's going to work on that. Twitter and Facebook one day.
I am doing it. The last episode was put on Twitter. So yeah, I am working on it, but leave that with me because I'm sorting it. But really, I would say that if you can just tell us what you think of the podcast, if it's good, if it's bad, recommendations, maybe some solutions, New Year's solutions, go and have a look. No, but seriously, if you've got anything you want to say about the podcast, let us know. We appreciate feedback all the time. We're always trying to grow. So if you want to just drop us a follow on Instagram and YouTube and all that kind of stuff, we'd appreciate it. If you are listening on YouTube, subscribe, comment, do all that jazz. But other than that, Dan, for me, that's all I've got to tell you from this week. It's been a mad one.
There you go. Constant and continuums.
Well, we'll see you next Tuesday, as always, at 10 in the morning. Keep an eye on the social media throughout the week. And if you want to see me dressed as Steve Irwin and Dan dressed as whatever he's dressed as, then you better be on our YouTube and our socials in the next couple of weeks. Take care. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone. Peace out.
Feel so right.